This is Amy Chan from CakeDecoratingSchool.com, and if you like cake decorating, you're in the right place. Welcome to our flower series. In this video, we'll be piping buttercream heirloom roses. It's broken down into steps so you can skip ahead, rewind, and rewatch as desired. We're going to start making the colors for our flowers. We're using all American style buttercream, and I'm going to make two colors, a pink that I'm actually going to make two shades of in the same cup, and also a golden yellow that's going to be for our centers. And we're going to start out with the pink today. We're going to use the following liquid gel colors to make both colors. Some violet, there we go, some neon bright pink, lemon yellow, and buckeye brown. I have a little of both my pink and purple over here, and I'm going to use this to make the pink color for my flowers. I just want to start out with a few small specks of that pink, get it mixed around, and then I'm going to divide up the buttercream in the bowl and pull some of it off to the side. I just want to make two shades, one a little more intense than the other, but I want to keep them both relatively light in color. Just give it a little more on that pink, just to make it a little more present. There we go. That is looking nice. I'm going to take most of this and just pull it off to one side. I'm just going to keep a little bit over here, kind of on the bottom of my cup, bottom edge, because I'm holding it at a tilt. Just kind of get it over there to the side. And I'm going to really up the amount of pink and just add a little touch of that purple just to give it a slightly different feel, make a slightly different hue. And I just want to give it a quick mix around. And I just want to make the two shades really kind of different. We're going to be doing some petals on the inside. They're going to look like they're still kind of curled up and haven't unfolded yet. And I want to use this for them just to kind of set them apart and make them a little bit different. So I want to make sure that the colors themselves are a little different. And you can really see the difference between the two, which we can. I think we're there. So I'm just going to leave that in my bowl for now. In a bit, we'll load it up into our bags. Next, we're going to make a nice golden yellow color. So I've got just a little bit of buttercream in there. We don't need too much for this. They're mostly just going to be nice little spikes in the center. So a nice big drop of yellow and some kind of like, I don't know, hearty specks of brown. Want a nice kind of, give it like a really intense kind of mustardy color. So really nice kind of like golden brown color. So more brown than yellow in terms of the shade, but you'll probably actually need more yellow. And you can see that gives us that nice kind of like warm caramel colored leather kind of shade. And I think that's going to be great for the centers of our flowers. We're going to use 3 bags for this flower. They're all 12-inch disposable. I have one that's fitted with a coupler and the other 2 are fitted directly with the tips. For my golden brown color, I'm using a number 2 tip, so a small, plain, round tip. For my slightly darker pink, I've loaded most of it up into my bag that's fitted with my coupler and a 104 tip. We're going to use this one with both the 104 and with just the coupler to pipe a base. And finally, we're going to have a bag that's fitted with a 122. This one is fitted directly with the tip, and as you can see, I've swirled together just a little bit of the remaining darker pink loosely with my light pink and then loaded it all up into the bag. And that's going to give you a nice kind of varied, subtle little change in color on some of your petals. So it'll just be really nice. And there's no exact way to do it. Just kind of mix it just a tiny bit so that when you load it up, the colors blend together just a little bit in the bag. Let's review the techniques we're going to use for our heirloom rose. The first thing is going to be the mound that we'll create. This one's going to be rather large, so we're simply going to use the coupler to do this. This is an easy way to create one without getting one of our large round tips dirty. So you can see I just have the coupler inside the bag and the ring secured on the outside just to help keep everything in place, keep it from slipping down. And we're going to use it just like we would a large round tip, where we're going to be up off the surface, let the frosting balloon, and then just finish it off. And you can even kind of swirl it around to kind of increase and adjust your shape. So it's an easy way to create larger mounds for bigger flowers. For our petals, we're going to use two tips. The first one is a 104, and we're going to create what I call kind of skinny curls. Now this one is really only um, we're only going to get a good demonstration when we actually go to pipe it on the flower, but I just kind of want to get you used to what we're going to do because it's probably going to be a little new and a little different. But these little skinny curls, we're going to use the bag in a lay flat position and we'll be up on our flower nail so it'll be easier. We're going to be kind of at 4:30 for the bag position, so towards my right shoulder. And we're going to start piping on top of our stamens, pull it over the edge of our little clump of stamens and down onto our mound of frosting. So it's going to kind of look like it's curling over the top. But essentially what we're going to do is start piping and pipe a line. And because we're curling over the edge of what we've already piped and pulling down, and we're also going to spin our nail just a little bit while we're doing it, instead of being straight down, they'll be on a slight diagonal. So this probably won't make much sense now, but it will later when we're actually doing it for our actual flowers. So just kind of keep in mind that we're going to use that 104 tip in a slightly untraditional way, and we'll go over it again when we're actually doing our piping, and hopefully it'll all come together with you for that, come together for you with that visual. We are also going to use our 122 and we're going to do some nice arcs. So these are kind of like those soft arcs that we've done, except we're going to have kind of a sharper curve to them. And we're also going to do some ruffled ones. So just think more of a peak on the top of the arc and then a ruffled peak. And this is going to give us our beautiful petals that are going to help our rose open up. And finally, we're going to do some spikes. These are a lot like the spikes we've already done on a whole bunch of other flowers. And we're going to squeeze, allow that frosting to attach, and pull up. The one thing that's going to be different here is when we're piping on our actual nail, on our flower, we're going to be holding the bag to the side. So we're going to be in that lay flat position, and we're going to be off towards 3 o'clock instead of our normal orientation, which would be straight up and down. So what this is going to do is when we pull up, it's going to kind of push everything into the center when we do it, and it's going to give it a nice kind of secure base where all that frosting is kind of joined together and give everything a kind of motion where it arcs outward just a little bit. And that'll probably make more sense when we do it, but basically we want all those little spikes to kind of join together at the bottom, and we want them to have nice frilly long tops that kind of gently curve out towards a rose. It's going to give it a nice natural feel, and it's also going to help make some stability with those stamens so that we can do those other petals which are going to be partially on top of them. Now, let's go over how we're going to take all those techniques, combine them together to make a beautiful heirloom style rose. The first thing we're going to do is pipe a big old mound with our coupler. And in general, I want it to be about 1.5 inches wide by approximately 1 inch tall, but it can vary a little bit. You just want it nice and fat, and you want a lot of surface area to build on. You don't want it to be too high because we're going to put all those beautiful spikes on top of it. And that's the next thing we're going to do. We're going to cover that top almost inch diameter on the top with those spikes. So start in the middle and then just keep your bag in place and spin your nail and go around in several concentric circles until you've really covered what visually looks like the entire top of that mound. And we want nice, frilly, hairy spikes, long, wild. That's going to look fantastic. And you'll notice that they'll all kind of curve a little bit inward because of how we're holding our bag, and it's going to kind of push them together at their base and make them a little more stable. So you'll get a lot more drama with them this way, and it's actually really, really nice. The next thing we're going to do is change to our 104 bag. So we're going to take the bag that we used for our mound, pop our 104 tip on it, and we're going to do those curls. And when we do those curls, we're actually going to start on top of the spikes, and then we're going to pull down while we're turning our nail, and that's going to put them on as a diagonal. So we want to pull them down enough so that they attach onto the mound directly under where those spikes kind of stop. And what we're going to do is a trio of 3 petals. So we're going to kind of equally space these petals out around those spikes, and we're going to do 3 for each of those groups. And we're going to lay them on each one. So do 1, do the next one kind of to the right of that and slightly on top, and again, right? So 3 groupings of 3 petals each. And that's going to give us these petals that look almost like they're curving over and haven't kind of unfurled and opened up yet. And it's actually going to look really, really beautiful, even though it's a little bit of a weird thing to do with our 104 tip. Once we've got those on there, we're going to switch to our bag with our 122, and we're essentially going to go in next to those little trios of petals and start piping. I'm going to start by doing a nice arc petal. So I'll start to the right of it, and I'll go right so that it trails on top and ends on that. And we're going to keep the tip so that it's pointing directly up, right? So at that 12 o'clock position for the tip opening. And we're going to pull that down. So we're going to start right next to it, pull up. It's going to kind of eclipse it a little bit. And the one thing we want to do is pull down further on the end. So you really want to drag the tip down. So it's kind of going to be a little bit of a lopsided arc, right? So we'll start a little bit higher up, right next to the end of those little curl petals, and we'll pull down over. And then we're going to repeat that, but we're going to do the ruffled arcs. So right next to the one that we just did, our plain arc, we're going to do a ruffle arc and end it the same way, where you're pulling a little further down. This is going to give us some overlap and kind of help us build up and keep our mound stable, and give us something to attach to. So we're going to keep going with our 122 bag, and we've got our plain arc and our ruffled arc on, and they're going to kind of be about the same height as those curl petals. Now we're going to start working a little lower down, kind of next to those groupings, kind of like, it'll feel almost like in between them. We're going to pipe our first ruffled arc that's kind of opening outwards. So instead of being at 12 o'clock, we're just going to open it out a little bit. We'll get 3 of those on, equally spaced, and then we'll go to the left of those petals, do 3 more with a little bit more of an open and a little bit further down, and then we'll go to the right and go all the way down and open up a little more. And this is going to give us a nice feel to our flower, like it's opening up. And it's probably a little complicated, and you're probably like, oh my God, what? That was too many things. That's fine. We'll show you how to do it on the actual flower nail when we're piping, and we'll go over it. It'll probably make a lot more sense. But this is just a little kind of warm up to get your brain thinking about it, because we're going to do some kind of unusual orders to things where we're going kind of not in concentric circles, right? So we're going to kind of mix up how we're doing things, and it's going to end up looking kind of like little trios of petals in some places. But that's going to be nice. It's going to give us a nice unusual look and feel that's a little different than that traditional rose, with the curved petal openings, the ruffly edges, and the little curl petals in between, and the unusual kind of style of the placement of the petals as well. So overall, it's going to give us a nice look, like a beautiful kind of heirloom rose that's just about to burst open. We're going to now start piping our heirloom rose. So you can see I've got my bag with my darker pink. It's fitted with just the coupler. I've got the ring on there just to keep things in place. And we're just going to start up off the surface and give it a squeeze. And don't be afraid to give it a little bit of a wiggle if you need to kind of get it to that full area. We want a nice fat base and a really nice mound to work on. We've switched to our bag with our number 2 tip and our golden brown, and we're gonna do our spikes. So just start in the middle. You can see the back of my bag is off towards 3 o'clock. I'm in my lay flat position, so I'm just gonna start and pull up a center one, and then I'm gonna go a little bit out so that I can go all the way around it. And you can see, you can pull really nice hairy spikes with a lot of kind of drama and kind of long tails because you can just keep going. And where they join together a bit in the center, it gives them a little more stability and allows you to pull a longer one. And don't be afraid if you dig into your cone, pick up a little color, it's perfectly fine. Our goal is just to get this top area covered and make a nice stable base for the petals, and also give us something visually that's going to be nice and striking because we have a little bit of this deeper color in the center of our flower. Now we're going to put on our curls. This is going to seem a little dangerous, maybe a little scary, might make you anxious. You just kind of have to trust that it's going to work out. We're at that lay flat position, and we're going to just start on the top edge, pipe, and spin as you go, and just connect to the cone. You can see that gives it a diagonal shape. The fat end is kind of towards the left for me, the skinny end is towards the right, and then we're just going to go on top, do another one. So slightly to the right, and we're going to put on 3 of those right next to each other. And now we're just going to go hop over a little bit and do 3 more. So just moving slightly over to the right with each one, so you get a little separation, pull them down. If it works out easier for you, do a single one of each first, and then go back and put the additional ones on top of it, if that makes the spacing a little easier. But just lay them right on top of those little stamens. And you can see that actually takes up quite a bit of our area, and it kind of pulls them out a little bit. So we have these nice curl petals. You can see they kind of curl over the edges, and they give you the look like those nice, tight, still coiled up petals at the center of a flower before it's really opened and is in full bloom. So we're going to come in between the groupings to start our next petal. These are our straight up arc petals that we're going to do with our 122. And we're just going to lay them over the ends. So I start a little higher up and I pull it down to finish it off. There we go. So just 3 of those, one next to each of those groupings. And you can see I've got that lighter color. It's really kind of giving it this spiral opening feeling. It's looking great. I'm going to go just to a little bit to the right of each of those. And now I'm going to do a ruffled one, still with the tip opening straight up and down. Really take your time to ruffle it and pull down. So really just give it a nice little jiggle there. Gorgeous. So you can see the way our flower is shaping up now. We kind of have these 3 little groupings. We're going to start our next set of petals. These are the ones where we're going to hold the bag the same, but we're just going to start opening it out a little bit. And we're going to start it in between them. And that's going to build the whole thing out and give it a more rounded look instead of being a little bit triangular like it is right now. So just start in between 2 of those groups, pull a nice large ruffle petal that's going just a little bit out. So I go to that middle spot between 2 groupings and do another one of those beautiful ruffled arcs. And then my final one. Now I'm going to go and put 2 more petals on by each of these. I'm going to do one to the right and one to the left. And I'm going to open each one out just a little more. And that should hopefully help me open the whole thing up a little bit, give it a more rounded feel overall, and give the whole thing a more open feel. And you can see that gives us a beautiful heirloom rose. That's all for this lesson on heirloom roses. If you enjoyed this one, give some of our other flowers a try. If this one is a bit complicated, we have a nice video on a basic rose that would be a good starting point before you tackle something like this. If the challenge was nice, try maybe checking out our nice dahlia flower tutorial. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like more about the cake decorating materials and equipment we use, or just some inspirational videos about cake decorating itself, you can follow us on Insta or YouTube at Cake Decorating School. If you'd like to know more about yearly membership and what it entails, you can go to www.cakedecoratingschool.com for more information. And if you're interested in these products, you can check the links in the description.